Yes, you have clicked through to the right channel, and no, I have not lost my mind. Why am I wearing a robe today? It's something I'm going to get into in a minute. A while back, I came across this channel by a guy. I believe his channel is Heinz, in the Hindsight, and I just loved his channel. I've been binging on his videos, and the thing that I realized as I was watching his videos and why I loved his content, it was because here's this guy, chilled, has this amazing vibe, sipping tea, which I love tea, and I felt creatively, professionally jealous. And I mean just like in admiration. I was like, here's the guy doing something that I have always desired to do. If you go back to my original videos, I just showed up on video and I just shared what I wanted to share. And it doesn't have all these transitions and B-rolls and all that. Nothing wrong with that. I enjoy that stuff creatively. But just showing up and just being is something that I've really missed on this channel. And the reason I'm wearing a robe is because when I wear this purple robe around my house, I feel super relaxed. And for the longest time, I've always said, wouldn't it be funny if I just cut on the camera and stay in my purple robe and just share a moment with you? And I thought, Doreca, that would be like YouTube suicide. First of all, they'll think you're just being lazy. You didn't bother to put on clothes. And second of all, what are you communicating? Professionally, you are this occupational psychologist. It's all these identities we put upon ourselves. But anyway, I decided after watching Heinz for so long and feeling jealous from afar, I decided that it's time I just test this out. See what happens. Keep on my purple robe, show up here and have real conversations about entrepreneurship and the messy middle. So today, we are going to talk about a messy middle of, if you've seen the title of this video, fear of failure versus fear of success, simply because it's something that I've been battling with in the last few weeks. And the whole idea of this purple robe, I call them Purple Robe Chronicles, is to talk about the messy middle. I feel like we get super excited about ideas when we start them. And then there is videos that celebrate success. I've hit this milestone. I've been able to achieve this. I went after my dream and this is what happened. This messy middle part, maybe some people talk about it and I just haven't been shown that many videos about that, or I've not been seeking out people who just talk about what is the process of entrepreneurship like. I feel sometimes the temptation is, including myself, and I think I've done this in the past, is only to share about the messy middle once we've overcome it. So an example will be, I've struggled with, procrastination. Now I'm cured, which I don't think that's true, but like now I'm doing better with that. Now I can share with you the technique that helped me, because somehow we equate sharing the process not being as helpful until it's complete. So if I share with you what I'm doing now and I don't know for sure whether this is going to bring the results, is there value in me sharing that with you? And I don't know the answers to these questions. This is the whole point of this Purple Robe Chronicles, is just to ask questions that will hopefully help all of us to arrive at the answers. And today for me is just my reflections on my own struggles and my own battles with fear of failure versus fear of success. The thing I have been noticing lately, which I never thought was my struggle, was this fear of success. And the reason I think I've been reflecting on it a lot more lately is because if you're aware, I opened up that membership, the Baobab Experience membership, beginning of May. And I closed it with 3 founding members, which has been amazing because having that small number of people has helped us to kind of dive deep into the path and what is happening. And my process so far has been to bring all these ideas I've had over the years and working with people one-to-one and the programs I've run and the workshops I've run. And you would have heard me talk a lot about the creative cycle, which I believe most of us experience. And this idea of focusing more on our being than our doing, right? You've heard me always kind of close out with that. And bringing that into a model that makes sense. And the process of that brought me to this place where I'm like, wow, finally, this thing is coming together. Wow, this could be big. Like, this could really blow up. It kind of gave me that feeling. And all of a sudden, it started to really scare me. Because as much as I wanted to come on here and create videos, you notice that I've kind of been really holding back in creating videos. It's because I'm in this place where I really want to share all this excitement of my discoveries. And at the same time, I didn't realize subconsciously I was holding myself back because I was scared of the success. And you might be thinking, who is ever scared of success? And I've heard people say that, but I've never been able to connect to if I've even experienced that. I've never been able to connect whether that's actually really my struggle until recently, when somebody asked me, because they saw that I was celebrating my kids and the amazing, closing out the year and the things my son has done, which has been amazing. My daughter, who is 6, having to adopt kindergarten with virtual working and all the things that they've done over the year, just celebrating that. But I didn't really ever say anything about how far I have come this past year, the things that I've, had to celebrate. I didn't really bring spotlights to that. But for me, the comfort place has always been being the one holding the spotlight behind somebody else and going like, look how amazing I can help someone become. But then it gets super uncomfortable to go like, because I did this thing. I remember thinking about a person who is very close to me that I observed them living a life fully lived and the cost that came with that. And I'll share more about that in a little bit. But my identity had really become the supporter. Whenever I get behind somebody, I really can make them a success. It just feels like a gift. And when it came to the spotlight on that supporting person, there was a discomfort there, right? I don't know if you can relate to that. Let me know in the comment section if you can relate to that struggle of allowing the spotlight to be upon you, right? I can celebrate my work. I can easily share concepts I'm coming up with, but celebrating who maybe I've even become in order for that to happen is a little bit of a struggle, which is kind of interesting because I'm always leading with focus on being. And yet that has been a struggle for me, but maybe that's why I focused on it. I don't really know. That is something I'm still reflecting on. So as I've continued to work in the membership and coming up with this concept, and if I can remember, I will tag it or bring the picture in here somewhere, of that idea of focusing on being and then focusing on the doing part and bringing those concepts together and what I think that cycle looks like. I've gotten to a place where I have put that in a framework, and I'm super excited about that because when I open up again the membership in July 22nd, I know that people who come in will really appreciate just having that clarity over what the journey looks like. Whereas before it was, you had to actually ask me for me to tell you where I think you are. Now I've been able to bring that into a framework to say, this is where you can kind of gauge for yourself where you may be. And that's like a huge achievement. And the more I have been excited about wanting to share that work, the more I've realized that struggle, right? And today as I'm recording this, and I'm like, I can't believe I'm even doing this, it's because I've realized this huge shift. I hope that this is the forward momentum for this struggle for me. And I want to share that with you, hoping that it can be a different perspective of looking at things. So this person that I mentioned before that had really lived their life fully, what I observed in their life was the pain that came with that, the judgment that came with that, the rejection from people around them that you'd think would support them, would celebrate them, would love them. Instead, it was tearing them down, saying, look at this woman, she went after her gifts and her career and things like that. And did she really do? And then they'll start nitpicking all other areas of her life that look how she forsake those areas. Well, it can't be that wonderful, right? And I didn't want to become that person. I didn't want to experience that pain. And I think subconsciously, I have lived in a way that avoided that face on. So it was easier for me to put the limelight behind somebody else and say, they can shine, and then I don't have to face discomfort, right? I don't have to face that full-on rejection by people or judgment. But then I realized, just like this opportunity that I can look at like someone like Heinz, right? And go like, I'm jealous. They are really doing and being in the way that they really want to be, right? We have two choices. We can hate on a person. I could go like, this Heinz guy, what is it with the sipping tea? Who shows up like that? How come they don't have this upbeat thing? Whatever it is that you can take apart about the person. I don't know what you can take apart about Heinz, because I think he's just amazing being himself. But I'm realizing in those moments, we all have an opportunity to reflect back. So when we see somebody living a life fully lived in their own way, in their own vibe, in their own rhythm, it's like a mirror to us. And when we look in the mirror, because for whatever reason we're not really living our life fully lived, we can either say, something is wrong with this mirror. It's not even reflecting me as I want. I think they didn't really create the frame really nicely. Their life is the mirror. And we can either fault the mirror or look at the reflection and say, oh boy, oh okay, so that's how I'm showing up. What do I want to do with what I'm looking at? That's the opportunity. And the mirror is not responsible for the person looking at it. What do they do with that image reflecting back to them? The mirror is not responsible for that. The mirror is being what it's meant to be. The person living a fully lived life is being who they're meant to be. Those of us looking on then have an opportunity to say, this is what is looking back at me. Because when we're looking at somebody doing something that we don't feel like we can, or we don't feel like we have permission to, or whatever our upbringing has dictated to us, has fenced us in how we show up, we're now slapping a label on a judgment on the person we're observing because of the judgment that we've heard other people saying about that type of person. But really, internally, we want some of that. We want there's a yearning in us. There is a calling in us that want a little bit of what they have, not for what they have, but for us to live fully, right? For us to live a life fully lived. We want to feel alive in every way we can. And yet when we look at that person, the fear can be taking apart the mirror. Something is wrong with that I'm looking at, instead of that which is looking back at me. And it's nothing wrong with me but it's just a reflection that there's areas that I'm still yearning, and I'm giving myself permission to want them, to go for them, to risk it, that there will be somebody else once I'm living it that I'll be a mirror to. And now they're going to have to either look at themselves or make a judgment or reject me. But they're not really rejecting you. They just don't like what they're seeing at that moment. Or they may not be in a place where they can do anything with the image they see. They're just not in a place where they can respond to it appropriately in a way that can be really positive in their life, you see? So the shift for me today was to let go of that responsibility, that if I am going to be a mirror for somebody else, meaning the spotlight is going to be on me in order to actually reflect on somebody else, I need to release myself from dictating what they do with that. I hope they're in a place where they can do something positive. But if they are not, and their only response they can give at that time is to say something is wrong with what they are looking at, how is that my problem? Because I'm living a life fully lived. So that fear of that success has always plagued me subconsciously. Really, I don't think I really recognize it until I've been digging really deep with this membership and the things that have been coming up, working within myself. The day I'm recording today, I had a session, a mastermind session in a group, and we were reflecting on the journey we've been. And that's what came up for me. And I thought, I don't want this moment to pass, because I think I'm not the only one who struggles with this. And some of us who are risk takers and we make advances in our careers, we almost can get to a place where we just have this invisible fencing or invisible ceiling. And we don't recognize there is a story behind that, where we don't go beyond that. And I'm not just talking about material, just success in that sense, but just fully living our lives, whatever that looks like for you. And for me, there've been those narratives that I really was trying to avoid without knowing I was trying to avoid them. The analogy that came from me is actually this being this mirror. It's really freeing for you and freeing and for the person who's ready to look and make a change. Today, Heinz was my mirror. He did something that reminded me of being fully myself, that I wanted to impress for so long, but I've been somewhat scared, you know. You achieve certain things and you think now you have to play by those rules, right? Like, oh, I've grown on YouTube. I have to maintain the growth, because if I start doing this weird stuff, it might scare people, whatever that means. But you get my drift. We start to play by certain rules and we see the momentum, and we don't want to lose that momentum. And it boxes us into what we can become and do. So we plateau, or worse still, we just shine away, because going beyond that is scary. Yeah, it may be fear of like, this will fail. I don't really fear that so much, but I think the biggest fear for me was, what if it blows up and it's a real success? And then I would have to face those narratives that were in my mind that I wasn't ready until really today to release and say, that's okay. If I become a mirror to somebody who isn't ready to respond in a way that can be really positive for them. Because I was just reminded, watching Heinz, or in the hindsight, doing his thing, being a mirror for me, and for me to say, I'm ready. I'm ready to come up to that place that feels really liberating for me, to have a life fully lived. What about you? What has been your challenge? This is mine. I'm just sharing. I don't know if these videos are helpful. I hope they are. If they are, let me know. And if you watch and you like it, then make sure you like it, because then it tells the algorithm an opportunity to share with other people that may actually find it helpful too. And thank you for being with me this far along this video. It means a lot to me that you would spend that time with a video that's not super produced, and it's just a conversation, a genuine conversation to talk about the messy middle of entrepreneurship. Let me know in the comment section, what's been your journey? What are things you're working on? What's your messy middle, and how you're working through that? Remember to focus on being than doing. And I'll see you in the next one.